What's up, West Creek?
I'm Nevaeh Darr.
I'm John Cornett.
And welcome back to another episode of Coyote Entertainment.
We're starting today's episode off with news about the news.
Let's get into it.
We live in a world where news is everywhere. It's on our phones, our TVs, our social media feeds, and it never really stops. For most people, engaging with the news isn't something they sit down and intentionally do anymore. It just happens, passively, while they're scrolling through their day. And that passive consumption is exactly where things get dangerous. When you're scrolling through a feed and you hit a negative headline, a tragedy, a conflict, crisis, your brain reacts to it whether you want it to or not. You don't even have to read the article. You don't even have to slow down. That headline alone is enough to shift your mood, outlook, and your mental state. Research has shown that repeated exposure to negative news can contribute to increased anxiety, stress, and even symptoms that mirror depression. It creates what some call a doom loop, where the more negative content you consume, the more your brain starts to expect that negativity, and the more you find yourself drawn back to it. It's a cycle that's hard to break, especially when the algorithms feeding you that content are designed to keep you engaged, not to keep you well. And the scary part is that most people don't even notice it's happening. You might finish a scrolling session feeling worse than when you started and have no idea why. That low-grade anxiety, that sense the world is falling apart, a lot of that is being fed to you, headline by headline, without your full awareness. Now here's where headlines themselves become part of the problem. They play a crucial role in how we process news. They frame stories, set the tone, and they're specifically crafted to capture your attention as fast as possible. But attention-grabbing and truth-telling are not always the same thing. For the average person moving quickly through their feed, a headline feels like the summary, the whole story wrapped in one line. In reality, it was never supposed to work that way. A headline is meant to be the entry point, the thing that pulls you into the full story, so your brain can actually process it with context. When we treat headlines as conclusions instead of invitations, we're only getting a fraction of the picture, and often the most sensationalized fraction at that. This matters even more when you factor in bias. News bias happens when journalists or news organizations allow their perspectives to shape the way they present facts. Now, bias itself isn't rare, evil thing. Everyone carries bias. It's part of being human. But there's a big difference between a personal opinion and a news report that's supposed to inform the public. When bias works its way into reporting, especially on topics that are already politically charged or emotionally loaded, it can steer people towards conclusions that aren't fully grounded in reality. Two of the most talked about examples are Fox News and CNN. Fox has a well-documented tendency to frame stories in ways that align with conservative politics, while CNN leans more liberal in its coverage of political subjects. And neither is truly neutral, despite what either might claim. These biases aren't random. They come from the top down, from ownership, advertisers, political relationships these networks maintain, and from the audiences they're trying to hold on to. It's a system that financially rewards telling people what they already want to hear, which means the bias is structural. You can't just ask a network to stop being biased and expect it to happen, because the bias is baked into how they survive. And when you combine biased reporting with emotionally charged headlines and an algorithm that keeps feeding it to you, the impact on how people think and feel is enormous. It shapes public perception, fuels division, and keeps people anxious and reactive, rather than informed and thoughtful. So what do you do with all this? The first step is awareness. Understand headlines aren't the full story. Every outlet has an angle, and you are genuinely being affected by what you consume. From there, be intentional. Slow down, read past the headline, cross-reference what you're seeing with other sources, and if you notice the news is feeling consistently worse, it's okay to step back and set limits. Just because the source claims to report fairly doesn't mean it does. Question what you see and hear, speak up when something feels off, and do your own research. Thanks for watching.
Man, I'm so proud of that one.
Up next, we have a nice little short film created by our own AV4.
This short film was taken to the second annual Screen Fest and was awarded first place overall.
That's great. Let's check it out.
I wouldn't drink that if I were you. I told you not to drink that juice.
How many fingers am I holding up?
4.
You drank the forbidden juice. Now you're seeing double.
Drink this.
That wasn't part of the plan.
That was amazing.
Lastly, we have a very special segment for you. We have the honor and privilege to give you all a sneak peek of this year's West Creek High School 2026 yearbook cover.
We absolutely love it, and we know you will too. So here it is.
That's all we have today, Coyotes.
I'm John Cornett.
I'm Nevaeh Darr.
And we'll see you next time, West Creek.